What's up YouTube, this is Tubedigga. In this video I'm going to take a look at audio tracks in the MPC Live and the MPC X. So this video doesn't cover all the aspects of audio tracks and all the capabilities and what it can and can't do, but I'm going to clear up some of the misconceptions as to what it can and can't do, and we're going to take a look at how you can time up an a cappella. So this a cappella I've got in here is Put Your Hands Where I Can See by Busta Rhymes, and I've used it in a previous video before. I can't remember where I sourced this from, but I have put it into Ableton Live and it is timed up perfectly over 65 bars. To make sense with the sequence that I've got underneath it, I've started it at bar 5, so it ends at bar 69. Okay? Now, this is the first thing I want to clear up. The MPC Live and MPC X, certainly in standalone mode, are unable to time things up in the same way as you may expect them to if you were using something like Ableton Live. It can't warp samples in the same way. It's not the same thing. It basically allows you to play back your sequences at any tempo and time stretches these without pitch shifting them. You can obviously change the pitch of them, but if you want to keep the original pitch of the sample, providing you've got warp engaged. Now I don't need warp engaged because my tempo is 99 beats per minute, and that is the tempo of Put Your Hands Where I Can See. I've done a bit of research online and a few websites state that it's 100, others state that it's 102, but I found it to be 99 beats per minute works best for this particular a cappella. So we don't actually need to warp that, so I'm going to play the entire sequence back to you, and then afterwards I'm going to warp the sample and then play it back at some different tempos to show you what the MPC Live can do.
So what you saying, yo? Silly with my 9 milli with the dilly, yo. When I be on the mic, yes, I do my duty, yo. While up in the club like we while in the studio. You don't wanna violate, nigga, really and truly, yo. My main thug, nigga named Julio, he moody, yo. Type of nigga that'll slap you with the tulio. Bitch, nigga scared to death, act fruity, yo. Fuck that, look at shorty, she a little cutie, yo. The way she shake it make me wanna get all in the booty, yo. Top mistress in the banging bitches and videos. While I'm with my freak like we up in the freak shows. Hit you with the shit, make you feel it all in your toes. Hot shit, got all you niggas in wet clothes. Styling my metaphors when I formulate my flows. If you don't know, you fucking with lyrical player pros like that. Do you really wanna party with me? Let me see just what you got for me. Put all your hands where my eyes can see. Straight buck wildin' in the place to be. If you really wanna party with me, let me see just what you got for me. Put all your hands where my eyes can see. Straight buck wildin' in the place to be. If you really wanna party with me, ain't God we trust. Yo, it's a must that you heard of us, yo, we murder us. A lot of niggas is wondering and they curious. How me and my niggas do it is so mysterious. Curious, all of my niggas is serious. Shook niggas be walking around fearing us. Front nigga like you don't wanna be hearing us. Gotta listen to how radio be playing us. 30 times I dish you to make you delirious. Damaging everything all up in your areas. Yo, it's funny how all the chickens be always serving us. So up in between the ass where they wanna carry us. Hit you good then I hit them off with the alias. Various chickens they wanna marry us. Yo, it's flip mode, my nigga, you know we bout to bust. 7-figure money, the label preparing us. Bite the dust instead of you making the fuss. Niggas know better cause there ain't no comparing us. Mad at us, niggas is never we fabulous. Hit my people off with the flow that be marvelous. Oh shit, my whole clique victorious. Taking no prisoners, niggas is straight up warriors. Why you feeling that? I know you be feeling so glorious. Then I blitz and reminisce on my nigga notorious. Like that, wanna party like that, that. Me see that's what you got for me. That. All your hands with my eyes to see. Straight buck wildin' in the place to be. If you really wanna party with me, let me see just what you got for me. Put all your hands with my eyes to see. Straight buck wildin' in the place to be. If you really wanna party with me.
So there you go, all perfectly in time, sounding good. Now, as you can see, there's some silence at the end there. So in Ableton Live, because this MP3, I can't remember where I sourced it from, but it was missing the last few bars where that a cappella was processed. But the reason why I converted it, or rather I consolidated it to exactly 65 bars, is if I didn't want to use the a cappella in the audio tracks, I could then put it into a chop program. So I'm going to go back to my main page and I'm going to mute this audio track and then press menu, go to sample edit and navigate to the a cappella. So if we go to regions, we can choose the amount of regions. Now I think if we wanted to get things more accurate, we should probably increase the amount of regions. We could obviously do 64, okay, and put a region in on every bar. So let's do that, 64 regions, and let's press shift, convert, new drum program using slices, non-destructive slice, create events. And then we'll choose the amount of bars to put that over, 64. Now it's going to put it in at the start of the sequence, but then we can shift it up to start on bar 5 like I had the audio track. So I'm going to press do it. Let's go back to MIDI and go to a blank track. And there you go. So there's our chop program. Let's just solo it and see if that's put that in correctly for us.
Bust a bus. 9-7. I'm on. Hot shit. Check it out. Hit you with no delaying, so what you saying, yo? Silly with my 9 milli with the dilly, yo.
Okay, so that seems like it's put that in nicely for us. So the reason why I've done that, I'm not going to actually shift it up to bar 5 and just duplicate what I've just shown you in the audio track version. But the reason I've done that is that I prefer to use chop programs to time a cappellas up that may not be in time. So quite often when you download an a cappella, you don't have any reference to it unless the engineer's been particularly meticulous about that and really just started it dead on the downbeat on the first bar all the way through to the end, and it's perfectly in time. But quite often a cappellas are a bit kind of iffy in terms of their timing. So I wouldn't use the audio editor in the audio tracks to chop around, because I do find it's a bit fiddly. It's quite good for some things. I think if you were to chop out sections and then get rid of sections, and then you can shift around all your audio like this, just doing that completely freestyle, get your eraser tool, chop bits out, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then you're free to shift those bits of audio around. But I think this is really best suited if you've got maybe long samples that you don't want to trigger from a program, and you just want to lay them in on the audio tracks rather than using them as samples within a program. So the MPC Live and MPC-X are completely capable in standalone mode to utilize audio tracks, but there are limitations, and I'll get to that in a bit. Let's just undo those edits I made to this a cappella. Okay, let's just double check. Yeah, we're starting on bar 5. And now I'm just going to go back to the MIDI page and I'm going to clear that chop program. Okay, in fact, I'll just erase that from the sequence. So we're back to what I originally played you. Let's go back to audio and edit audio. So now let's look at warping that sample so we can adjust the tempo and keep this a cappella in time with a new tempo of our choice. So we've got to press warp, and as you can see, it's calculated the BPM of this a cappella as 100, but we need to put in the tempo that we know this a cappella or whatever sample we've got into the audio track here. We need to give the MPC Live that information. So we'll take that back down to 99. Let's go back to our main page. And now let's play the sequence back, and I'm going to start to increase the tempo.
I do my duty, yo. While up in the club like we while in the studio. You don't wanna violate, nigga, really and truly. feel it all in your toes. Hot shit, got all you niggas in wet clothes. Style my metaphors when I formulate my flows. If you don't know, you fucking with lyrical player pros like that. Do you really wanna party with me? Let me see just what you got for me. Come on. Put more your hands with my eyes to see. Straight buck wildin' in the place to be. If you really wanna party with me, let me see just what you got for me.
So there you go. Whilst it can't emulate the warping functions of something like Ableton Live, it is very good at doing that basic time stretching, and the algorithm sounds pretty good. It's only really when you get down quite low, as you can see I've gone right down to 57 beats per minute, and you start hearing that time stretch texture and quality to the a cappella. And it doesn't sound too bad, a good 20 or so beats per minute above the original tempo. So that's what the audio tracks and the warping feature of the audio tracks can do in the Akai Mpc Live. I just wanted to clear that up because I get a lot of comments on my channel and messages saying, can you show warping? Can it do this? Can it do that? I don't think it can do what a lot of people have expected it to do in terms of how Ableton Live works. You do have to feed the MPC Live and MPC X a perfectly timed audio track to get the best results. Otherwise, you're going to be having to go into your editor or resort to a chop program. There was a track that I produced a couple of months back on my Ghost Trap EP, which had a Beyonce a cappella in, and I couldn't work out what the original tempo was. I think it was 120 beats per minute. So I made the track at 120, but the a cappella drifted, and I'm probably thinking that's probably because the a cappella that I sourced didn't start on the actual downbeat where the original track would have started. The track was called Haunted. But yeah, I'll put a link in the description for that so you can check that out. And basically that a cappella I put into the MPC Live and made a big chop program out, and then I took a good few hours trying to get that all timed up. But I do come from an old school background of having limited functionality on MPCs and other samplers, so I'm willing to put that time in, and quite often it's worth doing that rather than relying on algorithms that we're sort of expecting these machines to have. They certainly still don't have that same functionality as Ableton Live or something else that can perform those warping tasks with anchor points, etc. So I hope that's cleared up a few things for you guys. Get your acapellas in there or whatever audio tracks you want to bring into there. Make sure they're perfectly timed up in your DAW or your sequencer on your computer, and then bring them into the MPC Live, and then you can start utilizing your programs and all the other creative things that the MPC Live or MPC X can do. So please stay tuned for a second part to this audio track video. I'm going to show you the limitations of the RAM memory, and I'm going to load in quite a big track with quite a lot of data. I'm going to show you what happens if you try and do that. So this is the best way to use audio tracks. This is what it can do and this is what it can't do. I hope you've got something from this today, guys. Please like, subscribe, share if you haven't done so already. Please head over to Patreon if you want to give me a bit of support, and I will see you in the next video. This is Tubedigga, and I'm out.